In 2020, I did a 10,000 mile round trip ride from Denver, Colorado to the Arctic Ocean in Alaska. The trip was done on a 2014 BMW R1200 GS Adventure, and most people would say that I took way too much gear on that trip, and I would probably have to agree with them. I would consider myself a glamper, so I took everything, including the kitchen sink, and there definitely was not room for a passenger. At one point, I even considered taking an extra rear tire that I had all the way to Seattle so that I could change it out there, but thought better of it in the long run. It was an absolutely amazing trip with beautiful scenery at every turn. I went up the west coast of the United States and Canada and then came back down through the Rockies to Denver and put almost 10,000 miles on my bike. I camped most of the time on my trip and only stayed in hotels every 3 or 4 days. So I had a considerable amount of camping gear, and like I said, I'm a glamper, so I had chairs and tables for wild camping to make sure I could cook meals off the ground. And typically, I didn't eat freeze-dried meals. I tried to bring as much fresh food as I can in a little Yeti cooler that I also had strapped onto my seat behind me.
So we got a cooking situation going on over here with this ridiculous brandy grill that I had to buy from Europe online, but it swings out over the fire. When it gets a little lower, you can raise it up and down, slide it in and out. Fancy little table that takes up no room in my packs. So we got a cooking area, we got a whiskey drinking area, we got a sleeping area over here by the lake, which I'm not even putting the rain fly on tonight so I can see the lake because it's only supposed to get down to 65. And then down these steps, I have my own private bathing area. Life is good.
There was obviously a lot of pavement on this trip, but I tried to stay off the beaten path as much as I could. I rode several sections of the BDR routes in Washington and Oregon, and of course the Dalton Highway is gravel and actually loose dirt and mud for several sections. So it was challenging at time with that much weight, and sometimes I struggled on a couple sections of two track and even a short section of single track on the BDR routes.
I just did a short video kind of unloading my bike. Those are the 3 hard cases and then the 2 dry bags. And this is all the gear that's on my bike, believe it or not, which is a lot of gear. Camping gear, some personal items. Obviously there's the large black thing on the left is a suitcase, and the Yeti cooler is the gray thing in the corner. So it's a lot of stuff, but I use it all, and I'm willing to travel with 150 pounds of gear. I off-road still with this bike. I do 2-track and even single track on this bike with 150 pounds of camping gear on it, and I go places most people wouldn't take a dirt bike. So I use it and I need it, and I don't have any problems carrying it around with me, obviously all the way to the Arctic Ocean and back. So there you go.
But overall, I don't really regret taking that much gear. It was very comfortable camping and traveling. It was a little tough on some of the off-road sections. I never laid the bike down off-road, but I did drop it once at a campsite and once on a paved road, just making bad decisions. But overall, it was amazing and very comfortable camping, and I honestly think it was worth the effort. I have recently traded my BMW for a KTM 890 Adventure R, just because that is a better bike for riding the trails in Colorado and running up to the mountains on the weekend, or even a 10-day trip to Moab. But I've cut my gear weight in half for that bike, and it's much better suited for my riding style now. I guess it all comes down to your trip goals, and your personal preference and your riding style. So to each their own on whether they want to be comfortable camping or more capable riding off-road. So the final comment is that I think I would still take the BMW if I was going to do another Alaska trip, just so I can carry a little bit more gear than I currently carry on that KTM, but probably not as excessive as my first trip, so that I didn't have to work quite as hard. So, but once again, it's personal preference and to each their own. So ride safe and enjoy those two-wheel adventures, my friends.